Hey, what's up, mortals? It's Seraphim, here with a new video for you. Welcome to part 1 of What If Deku Was a Saiyan? I just wanted to greet you guys by saying, sit back and relax. You're in for a treat. So we begin. What if Deku was a Saiyan? Well, the first question comes to mind is, if Saiyan DNA is considered a quirk here, which for our purposes, it is. An immediate follow-up question is whether or not he's full-blooded. For this inquiry, let's say his dad was a Saiyan and his mother was a human. In this situation, Deku woke up one morning with a tail, which was noticed only after discovering he had grown 3 inches overnight. In a panicked frenzy, Izuku called his mom to see if she knew anything. Inko knew that her husband's quirk was kicking in, remembering back to the days he left, when he explained to Mama Midoriya that her own DNA would postpone his own quirk effects within their son. At a certain age, he would sprout a tail, among other noticeable features, appearing seemingly instantaneously. One warning from him echoed within Inko's mind, though. He told her to do everything in her power to never let Izuku see the full moon. Concerned and ever watchful, Deku's mom kept a close watch over him, ensuring to follow the advice given to her by her former lover. Unfortunately, the fighting spirit inherent within her husband wasn't so easily quelled, and as a young child, Izuku continued to get into fights everywhere, be it at school, in the nearby park, or even the marketplace. Though, Inko had to admit that the fact that he only picked a fight with those who deserved it was something of a relief to her. There was one child she always kept a close eye on, though, Katsuki Bakugo. That boy would adore antagonizing Deku, and showed him up at every possible opportunity. During some skirmishes that left Izuku far more upset than he should have been, she recalled having to calm him down for hours before he'd finally, albeit reluctantly, sleep it off. One particular incident, however, caused Inko to nearly harm Bakugo herself. It was a slightly overcast day, and much like he usually did, Izuku was standing up for one of the kids that Katsuki's cronies frequently targeted for cruel tricks. Unlike normal, however, it was beginning to grow late. The confrontation, as anyone would expect, ended up with Bakugo pinning Izuku to the ground, victorious. His fighting spirit wasn't quelled by any means, but his body simply couldn't keep up any further. Seeing the clouds brush past the dark sky and revealing a nearly full moon, Katsuki decided to give his rival a scare. "Hey, Deku! You're always saying that you can't look at the full moon, right? Your dad said so?" He grinned broadly sinisterly. He continued, "Well, he isn't here, and neither is your mom. So you want to see what happens when you see it?" Pointing to the celestial body with one hand and grabbing Izuku's head with the other, he forced the boy's eyelids open and refused to let his neck move. He gestured for one of his cronies to help, and with their help, he pinned Izuku to the ground in a position where it made it impossible to turn away. "Look at how pathetic you are, Deku. You're gonna break a rule your mom and dad set, and you can't even bring yourself to move. What's the matter with—" Amidst his gloating, Bakugo turned his face to Deku. His eyes weren't aimed at the moon. Instead, they were locked onto his tormentor. Izuku's eyes were flaring and roiling with an animalistic rage, and for a moment, just a moment, Bakugo felt true fear creep into his mind. He took a step back. Without a second thought, waved away his posse. "Let him go! Get him out of here!" Confused, the groupies stood up with blank faces until their leader screamed again, "Now! Let him go!" Immediately the goons released Izuku, who began fervently running home, tears streaking down his face. Katsuki himself was sweating profusely, merely standing stark straight while watching the boy run away. After a few minutes, his cronies got up and walked away, not wanting to get into trouble. But Bakugo didn't move. He stared onward, in the direction that Deku ran, and internalized this feeling. Fear. Isolation. Weakness. It made his blood boil. With a yell, the young boy let loose an explosion that rocked the playground, swings looping around all their bars and structures creaking as if they shifted from shockwaves. He would never allow such a thing to happen again. Not on his life. Izuku, milling over his own emotions, decided he never wanted anyone to look that way when regarding him again. He wanted to cheer people up, not traumatize them. Looking around mildly paranoid before entering his home, Deku took a shaky breath before running up and hugging his mom tightly. It didn't take long for the events of that night to reach Inko. She refused to let Izuku stay out late after that, which the boy didn't complain about once. Besides, it gave him ample time to uncover all of his latent abilities. Over the course of several years, Midoriya had shown his classmates both his quirk and his aspirations to become a hero. He'd helped out here and there between schoolwork and his home life, which was typically just anything he saw on his way to or from school. At this point, his crowning achievement was stopping a bank robbery a couple of blocks away. Izuku had discovered long before this that physical training to the extreme gave him far greater gains than it would a normal person. So he'd been training every day in his room. His holiday gifts were rich with punching bags, treadmills, and bench presses. Of course, all of which were All Might themed. His body had been honed incredibly well for his age even now, which had allowed a single blow to fellow criminal trying to bolt away with unearned funds. After appearing in the news as a helpful bystander, Inko's motherly pride flourished. The debut of Mount Lady, even involving her greeting and posing with Deku, who had rushed over to the event once he spotted it out of the corner of his eye. The press, needless to say, ate it up. However, not all villain encounters would be so joyous for the growing teen. While walking home and talking to himself about an updated workout routine, he passed by a sewer grate whose cover erupted from a resting place. Honey's a free browser add-on available at Google, Opera, Firefox, Safari. If it's a browser, it has Honey. Honey automatically saves you money when you check out on sites like Amazon, Papa John's, Kohl's. Wherever you shop, it's a good chance that Honey can save you money. All you have to do when you're at the checkout of these major sites is to click on the little orange button, and it'll scan the entire internet and find discount codes for you. It takes 2 clicks to install Honey. Now anytime you check out, Honey will scan the entire internet and find coupon codes for you. If there's a coupon code, they will find it. And if there's not a coupon code, you can rest assured that you're getting the best price possible. And there's literally not one available on the internet. If you install Honey right now, you can save like $50 to $100 on your shopping. Doing nothing. There's literally no reason not to install Honey. It takes 2 clicks. 10 million people use it. 100,000 5-star reviews. Unless you hate money, you should install Honey. Out of the pit crawled a vile villain whose body consisted of viscous slime. Without pause, it engulfed Midoriya, forcing its way down his throat.
You're the perfect vessel, kid. Completely inconspicuous.
Glancing down for a moment, the sinister sludge snickered.
Well, all except for that tail. But we'll cut that off later.
After feeling his mind go blank and his body screaming in pain, something inside Izuku snapped. His eyes rolled into the back of his head, and with a guttural screech, he bit down with all of his strength. This caused the viscous villain to stumble backward, shocked and in pain. Looking at his lost piece, then back at the boy, he grumbled. His eyes locked at Deku's, who had begun vomiting up the motionless goo.
Kid, I got good news and bad news. Good news, I ain't stealing your body. Bad news, I'm straight up gonna kill you.
As the maniacal mud man was about to strike, an unexpected thud resounded in the area. Looking up, the ghastly Grimes stuttered out a single name before a haymaker sent him sputtering across the surrounding architecture.
All Might!
With a brave laugh and a bright smile, the #1 hero turned his face to the half-conscious Midoriya. Helping to steady the boy, "Say, you did pretty well there. I admire your... Briefly interrupted by a portion of slime that was spewed out from the boy's mouth yet again. All Might cleared his throat before continuing. I admire your spunk, kid. I'm glad to see the next generation of heroes is coming up so well. A shaky thumbs up was all Deku could muster, and then everything went black. Awoken by the not-so-gentle shake of All Might, Izuku looked around, gradually recalling the event. Then the realization kicked in as he gawked at All Might, a dumb grin spreading over his face. Before he was able to ask, Deku saw the soda bottle containing the sludge villain inside of All Might's pant pocket. Thinking quickly before the opportunity evaded him, Midoriya whipped out a notebook and a pen out of his bag, opening it to the first page, only to find the autograph he wanted already residing there.
All Might, you're incredible. You're here. Here, and me, and you.
At this, All Might simply laughed, patting Izuku. Don't worry. I know what you mean. Unfortunately, I've got no time left. Gotta go. With a salute and a mighty leap, the symbol of peace glided through the air, enjoying the feeling of the breeze. Only after he passed by the glasses of the buildings did he briefly see a green-haired teen clinging to his leg for dear life. In a short rush of panic, All Might attempted to push Izuku off of his leg before later reminding him that it would most likely kill him. At this, the hero gave in, sighing before scouting a rooftop to land on. A brief cough and a drop of blood informed the number one hero that it wouldn't be a fun day. Upon landing, Izuku began rummaging through his backpack, trying to find every piece of memorabilia he could find of the hero in an attempt for some more signatures.
I've been your biggest fan for a while. I've got to, let's see. This figurine. Maybe this pen could be signed too. Oh, that'd be interesting for sure. Or maybe this is, sorry for the intrusion.
The words caught Midoriya's throat. Before him was not the sterling figure of All Might, mighty and muscular. Before him was a small, frail man, definitely older looking, who wore an excruciatingly baggy All Might suit all around him. The sunken eyes and widely ragged hair didn't fit the symbol of peace, not in the slightest. But who else could this be? He would have heard All Might leap away if he'd just left, and the door definitely didn't open. This had to be All Might. But
what?
Asked Midoriya.
Who? How?
The only response that he got from some time was a sigh. Right. From the beginning, then. Over the course of several minutes, All Might explained how he had been gravely injured in a fight with a villain some years back, and how seriously damaged his internal organs were where the nearly fatal blow had landed. How this meant he could only fight crime for a limited amount of time each day, or risk showing this form off to the public. Izuku didn't need anyone to explain to him how bad that would be.
So, you can't fight like you used to?
Inquired Deku. That's right, kid. I have no way of knowing if this condition will just keep getting worse or if I'm at rock bottom now. Guess I'll just have to keep forging onward. Looking up with a grin, Toshinori nodded to his admirer. But people like you're going to be able to take over where I can't. You'll be more than capable of defending this world from the sorts of villains who did this to me. You especially. I see a spark in you. One I've been looking for a long time. Smiling to himself and slowly standing up, All Might buffed up yet again. Keep on training, kid. Train until you feel like you can't move your body. Then train a bit more. Never stop improving. Scratching his chin, he thought for a moment. Unfortunately, you'll need to ask the people inside to let you down. The door up here is usually unlocked. But if it isn't, just knock. Someone will let you down. Looking back briefly, he added, and please, don't tell anyone about what you saw here. Okay? Midoriya nodded.
I won't.
With yet another mighty leap, the symbol of peace rocketed away, leaving Izuku with his own thoughts. His hero saw something in him, and that was more than enough to redouble his focus on training. He wouldn't let anyone down, especially not All Might. He would find that spark and turn it into an inferno. While finding his way home, Deku heard a distant commotion. He checked the clock, noting that it was a little late, but considered it was barely a waxing half-moon today, he wasn't very concerned. He sent Inko a brief text, saying he'll be home a little late due to a villain roadblock before hurrying toward the action. He had no idea how right he was. After dashing several blocks, Midoriya finally arrived at the massive crowd being held off by several pro heroes. Their forces were spread thin between managing the crowd and the flaming wreckage around the quarantine zone. It was at that moment when Deku felt his heart drop. The moment he saw the villain being contained, the slime villain. It had escaped its plastic prison, and it was easily repelling everything the pros could throw at him. Within his grasp was a teenage blonde, about Izuku's height, even sporting his school uniform.
Kacchan!
Midoriya cried, outstretching his hand before being pulled back by the pros.
Kacchan! Kacchan!
He bellowed, forcing another pro to help the first couple properly hold him back. With a frenzied series of flailing, the teen managed to escape the grasp of the crowd control and bolt toward his injured friend. Looking to the sludge villain's face with the same glare he recalled giving Kacchan all those years ago, Deku let out a primal scream, something deep within him erupting in response. A reserve of power and an urge to fight, an instinct for combat. In a fluid motion, Midoriya slashed his hand through the sludge villain, which seemingly did nothing. The sentient slime had turned from fearful to mocking in just a few minutes.
You realize my body's liquid, right, kid? You're not going to stop me that easily.
The moment the villain's mouth closed around those last words, he saw the boy, tail twitching and eyes blazing with a livid inferno, leaping straight toward his face. Time seemed to slow for the pair. And although the malicious muck tried to intercept the blow, Deku was faster. His fist landed hard against the eye of the villain, who let out an agonizing yelp. Perception returned to normal. Izuku began trying to dig Kacchan out of the villain, who had stopped his progression. After a few seconds of frantically tugging, Bakugo was finally freed from the sludge villain long enough to breathe.
Back the hell off, Deku! I don't need your help!
He sputtered, shaking his head with tears staining his cheeks and a shaky smile spreading across his face. Izuku began pulling his ally free.
I'm going to help, Kacchan! I don't know how, but I'm going to help you!
This gave the explosive teen a moment of pause, unsure how to process this new feeling of relief. Katsuki decided to free an arm and blast Deku away.
Get out of here already, Deku! You'll get caught up too, you idiot! Think!
Bakugo was cut off by a crack and a wave of slop blocking his mouth. In a flash, an overwhelming ooze had regained its grip, staring at Izuku with one closed eye.
You're next, brat. Just wait until my hands get on you.
Detroit Smash! The yell shook the crowd, who almost immediately altered their moods from frantic to ecstatic. With a mighty shockwave, All Might landed in front of the sludge villain, fist already cocked and ready. With a single thrust and a bellowing of a familiar phrase, the wind in the area crashed into the villain, who stood no chance of holding himself together. He was spread clear across the containment area, leaving nothing but the two boys on the ground, one shaking and the other unconscious. The number one hero carried both over to the paramedics called to the scene, who quickly tended to their wounds. Once treated, the pair were sent home, both silent, unsure of the other's feelings. Just before turning onto his street, Deku mumbled to himself about what more could he have done. A massive form careened into the street in front of him. Once the dust settled, a bulked-up All Might stood proudly before a shocked and excited Midoriya. "I am here!" he bellowed mightily. Not a second later, his body deflated itself as he coughed up a not-so-healthy portion of blood. Deku trying to steady the hero. "Young man, you've shown such great promise today. I wanted to thank you. What's your name?"
My name is Izuku Midoriya. But thank me? For what?
Pondered the green-haired teen. "You see, young Midoriya, noticing you running out there despite everyone trying to stop you in an attempt to rescue the teen when nobody else could, that's a seriously cool move. Reckless for sure, but admirable." Shaking his head and growing more serious, he continued, "But that isn't the only reason why I came here. Clearly you know the secret of my form, but there's another fact I've been hiding. The real reason I've been staying in this city is to find my successor, someone worthy of inheriting my power." This caused Midoriya to stagger.
Inherit? You mean your quirk? Is that even possible? That doesn't mean everything that we know about quirk so far is...
He was interrupted with a large cough from All Might.
Sorry!
He yelped, before bowing to the symbol of peace. "No worries. And yes, it is my quirk, My power is one derived from many other users, each one gaining more than the last. I had this power bestowed upon me, and now I want to pass it on to you, young Midoriya. I couldn't imagine a better candidate for the next #1 hero. Frozen in place, tears streaming down his face, Deku shook as he looked up at All Might's sunken, determined eyes. This was real. All of this was real. He began, but then paused. He looked down at his hands, then his tail, which snuck into his periphery. His head sank low.
I can't thank you enough, All Might, but I can't accept your quirk.
All Might looked quite puzzled, staring at Midoriya. Are you sure? You could be the thing this world needs.
With all due respect, All Might, this isn't right,
Izuku explained.
Because someone out there far better than I, they have to exist. Someone who doesn't already have a quirk. I was lucky with the ability I got. It makes me really proficient in hand-to-hand combat. If someone else, who's quirkless, has the same trait as me, I want them to have it.
At this, the #1 hero grinned even wider before scratching the back of his head. Geez, kid. You got me there. I did hear you mumbling about training. Can I at least help you with that? As a way of saying thanks for motivating me back there? Before Deku could respond, Toshinori held up his hand. Yes, I'm sure it wouldn't be a hindrance or waste my patrol time. I can train you in between those sessions of proper heroics. Now, he asked Midoriya, holding in his hand. What do you say? Pausing for a moment, even more tears cascading down his face, Midoriya could only reach out his hand and take it.
Yeah. I can't thank you enough, All Might,
he cried. No problem, kid. Now don't make a scene. Just meet me at Takoba Municipal Park tomorrow morning. We'll start it with that and have you in tip-top shape in no time. With a final salute and a smile, All Might puffed up again and launched away, leaving a tearful, joyful Deku to walk home in anticipation of the next day. After explaining the situation to his equally tearful mother, she agreed to let him hang out until sundown with the #1 hero as long as he could get Izuku back home by the time the moon would come out. The following day, an eager Midoriya tentatively jogged onto the beach looking around. Yep, this used to be a gorgeous beach, chuckled All Might, which scared Deku half to death. Grinning and patting him on the back, the symbol of peace gestured around them. Then all sorts of people decided that it would be an easier way to dispose of unwanted waste, and all manner of appliances are stacked up around here. Turning to face his protege, All Might stood straight and smiled. Your training will consist of you cleaning this entire beach by the time UA entrance exams happen. At that, Deku's jaw dropped. Looking around at the numerous broken down cars, rusted fridges, and busted washing machines, he swallowed hard. This wasn't going to be easy. Thank you all for sticking around, and I hope you enjoyed. Before you leave, we'd just like to let you know that we, the Celestials, have many other channels for your entertainment and viewing purposes. All the information you need is right below in the description, so feel free to check out all the other incredible projects our team creates. Secondly, on behalf of We the Celestials, I'd like to thank everyone involved in the production of today's awesome content. Their details will be in the description below. That's all for today's video, so goodbye and have a divine day.